Mute myself until you're ready.
No,
Oh,
stay. Don't mute yourself. We're here. We're now. You're with us. We made it, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. Had some technical difficulties with our streaming program, but Steph from RetroCat is here. And we got a great amount of people. People did stay, and that's fantastic. Steph, I love your headset. I love that you stuck around. I appreciate it so much. It's nice to meet you.
it's nice to meet you too, Andy. Thank you. Yeah, I love cats, if you can't tell.
We are a pro cat household here. So
Okay.
I didn't grow up a cat person, I thought, but now it has been ingrained into me.
I get
And
you. My
yeah.
husband's actually the same way. He was allergic to cats, and then I discovered that there's hyperallergenic breeds, and so I introduced those into my house, and now they sleep on his face. He loves them.
Yeah.
I get it.
The grumpy cat has figured out that I'm the best petter. I'm humongous. I have the biggest hands. And so I'm the best petter. Like, come on by. Like, you're gonna get, and I don't like pet for hours. No. Like 3 and then you're good. We have a good relationship. Like, okay, we're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what cats love. They find the people that just suit them. Like, people don't realize how awesome cats' personalities are. Like, ugh, I love it. Anyway.
Welcome to Chainlink Live. We're going to take a look at NFTs and gaming. We're going to take a look at the RetroCat project. Steph is founder of. Talk through it. Talk about how Chainlink VRF plays a role and answer community questions as well. So if you guys have questions about the release, about Chainlink VRF, about the drop, please feel free to drop those in the chat. We can chat with you. Hey-o, let's go. We love that. We'll get started here. I'm gonna do my little intro real quick because it's Chainlink Live. Let's get started and learn a little bit about RetroCat. Tell us what it is. What high level view? What is this NFT project about?
Okay, so this is a verifiably random NFT made up of RetroCat, specifically from the 1970s. If you can't, I'm trying to emulate the 1970s vibe just a little bit today. But it's like really cute cats. Like if you imagine like Funko Pop figurine-esque type things with 1970s accessories shoved on top of them and with like weird things around them, like, like the Dukes of Hazzard car or Jello molds or things like that. Yeah, so that's the art behind it, and it's a really great project. And it does use a lot of really awesome Chainlink technology. To use the words of one of the people who actually bought, he came in and bought like 5, and he's like, "These are chain linked up. I gotta get them." So yeah.
I love the 70s as a retro. Jello is a really interesting throwback. We recently in the last couple of years realized that Jello wasn't always around.
No.
And so gelatin as like a thing and as a weird substance, like it's a different state of matter. It's not a solid, it's not a liquid. It's this like physical mystery. And so to actually have that as part of your diet, that's why if you go back to like 50s and 60s cookbooks, it's filled with these Jello recipes because it was this amazing thing. And now it's like, hey, Jello, I don't know, you get it,
Yeah,
or whatever.
You think of kids and Jello jigglers and stuff like that, but back in the 70s and actually even before, like, Jello, as we know, it hasn't always been around, but gelatin's been used since like the 1500s and before, and it was used as a savory like main dish thing. Anyways, I do recommend.
And it was hard to get too. No, not anyways. Yeah. It was hard to get. And so like it was for upper class. It was for like royalty to gelatin.
Exactly.
And now, so anyways, okay, now we're getting on tangent, but I love it. Hold on, I lost my whole sheet here. I want to hear about the story and the art for RetroCats a little bit more, but can we see them? Can we just like jump into that? Because
let me
I've seen some of them, but I want to see more.
If I can share screen. Okay. Let's see.
More people are joining the stream. We're talking to Steph from RetroCats. It's RetroCat, right?
Yes, it's RetroCat. Actually, it's RetroCats on OpenSea. But RetroCat, retrocat.io, what you're looking at right now, should be looking at, is our website. So here's just kind of a little bit of the vibe for it. I just wanted to set kind of the overall vibe, like 1970s, like that 70s show, all the fun vibes.
Classic Tupperware.
Tupperware, beer, cheese balls, SPF 4, these things that are totally, we don't have them anymore. But what it was about, different house plants, all these things are actually making their comeback now, and I think it's super awesome. Um, and so yeah, like different protesting, cocktails, disco. How do you have a lot of fun with some cats? And so that was the vibe. And I also think it's really cool because
Mhm.
this is the age of computer technology like really emerging. You had your first PCs coming out. I believe the Apple One came out in the 1970s. And so all of this I think was just a fun kind of play on such a pivotal point in our history.
Mhm.
So kind of the inspiration behind it was I love Lucky Cats.
Mhm.
If you can't tell, there's a cat with the arm up. It was inspired by Lucky Cats. I used to live over in Asia for 6.5 years. I lived in South Korea, but I when I moved back to the States, the first thing I did was bought myself a Lucky Cat for my house. And so I've been painting, I'm an artist and I've been painting Lucky Cats ever since. Part of the 70s inspiration is because my cats were walking across my keyboard when I was reading about the whole like the time crystal. Have you heard about
No,
the
I don't
time
know what the
crystal?
time crystal is. What's that?
Okay, so I'm gonna, so what the time crystal is like, Google is creating this time crystal so that using quantum computing, so that you know there it's a time crystal. Like matter. It can go forwards and backwards. It's kind of like they're building this technology. They're creating this technology so that it's kind of like Back to the Future esque stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a scientist, I'm not working on it, but I was reading about it when my cat walked across my keyboard, and I was like, it would be really cool, if we did this like throwback collection, like, cat walks across the keyboard and all of a sudden they end up back in the 1970s. So that was part of the inspo.
That's fantastic. And you've been drawing cats and painting cats for a long time, it sounds like.
Yes.
Is this just your thing? Like
Well,
you're a cat crazy cat person clearly, which we
I
have established we all love,
mhm.
and now I'm a crazy cat person as well. My wife brought me in.
Well,
Um,
yes. Well, I've been doing art since 2010. I was living in South Korea, and so for me, art was a way to deal with homesickness and also deal with um, just do some self therapy because
mhm.
over there back then, you weren't able to go and see therapists. You could lose your job over it and different things. And I was on a visa, so I was trying to be very, by the books. So for me, it was a way to kind of self-medicate, self-therapy.
Mhm.
And one of my early paintings was actually of is she gonna come over? Yes. Well, hold up.
I
Was
cannot
of
get my cat to join me. This is amazing. We
this
have a
one right here.
guest appearance by who's this? This is the
This
rules.
this is my cat Maki, like the sushi.
Yeah.
But one of my very early paintings was of Maki, and so I've been painting. I have photos of her. I'm painting, and she's sitting me like this tiny. But I've been painting cats ever since. I do a lot of landscapes and stuff like that. But I did a collection of Lucky Cats, and I just thought it would be fun to keep going on with the cat theme because
Cool.
people like cats.
That's awesome and fantastic art. Love the Maki. Oh no, just such a perfect showcase there. We have some questions as well. Wissam, your question: why are NFTs hyped up? NFTs are really interesting because keep in mind what they stand for. Non-fungible token. Token is the important part, and a token means it is demarcated as a unit on a blockchain somewhere. So it's this established by the blockchain, by decentralized technologies, by this millions or thousands or however many validators, that this token exists and that it is owned by a particular address. So this is what NFTs are. It's not that they're necessarily art or a ticket or an ENS address or whatever it happens to be. It's that it has digital provenance. You know
Mm,
who owns it, who has owned it, where it is, where it can go, and people retain control of that. So if I get a RetroCat, I own that. I own the private keys to that wallet. I own that RetroCat. Nobody can take it from me. I decide what to do with that. That's why NFTs are really interesting right now. Is people are thinking about what does it mean to have digital property rights.
Mm.
So I can screenshot an image, but I can't go and sell that image. But that's what people are excited about is, well, I have the digital rights to this, so I can go to a secondary market and I can sell this token that may or may not contain an image. It can contain a lot of different things. And then people's brains get really excited. It's like, well, if I can do this with something and attach an image to it, then I can attach a video to it. Then maybe I can attach some in-game properties to it. And so maybe you could sell a video game item, like a gun, a weapon with particular stats, or a web domain, or a ticket to events, or permission, all sorts of things. So that's why people are really excited about NFTs, is the design space for them as a technical artifact, a technical token, verified by the blockchain, opens up this cool new world of digital property rights and ownership and transference and such. Now, many of these have been popularized by having cool art on them, like RetroCats and many other such projects as well, because they have this visual component on top of them. Steph, what was it that hooked you about NFTs? Like, how did you kind of get your brain around this space and get excited about it?
Well, I have to say, great question. I My husband and I have been interested in blockchain for a very long time. We were very early on let's learn about Bitcoin, let's try our hand in some of that. And so we've been interested in that field for a long time. I've also been doing art, like I said, since 2010. I've been selling it internationally since about 2013. And so for me, it was like I'd heard about it, heard about it, heard about it. Why not try to make my own NFT, especially when, this year everything became really popular and it was like, oh, you know, if you're going to do it, like now's a good year to get on board
Mhm.
because, who knows what's going to happen in the future. It's still so early on. It's still kind of the wild west in the whole blockchain NFT world. And so we thought that we'd give it a shot. And I went on, I tried to learn how to make my own smart contracts, and I realized that I did not have those capabilities myself to
You,
learn that over the course of 2 weeks.
you do, but not in 2 weeks,
Not
probably. You
in
might
2
you might need
weeks,
a
and
little
so
bit more time.
yes, and so, like, I know some solidity, I'm working on learning more, and so, like, I'm learning blockchain, but, we did, work with an amazing, phenomenal, coder who, like, wrote this incredible code for RetroCats just out of the goodness of his heart and for wanting to, help make blockchain and NFTs like wants to try out the new technology and help propel this whole movement forward.
We're seeing a lot of really interesting as artists enter the space. One of the things I keep noticing is artists are fundamentally creative people, and once they understand the basic boundaries of the medium, it's time to explore the boundaries of those medium. It's affordances, right? You have an affordances. You've got a canvas and paint. What do you do with it? Well, you can
Uh-huh.
chop it up, you can brush it, you can mix it, you can splatter it, you can do all this stuff. Well, what else can I do? And
Uh-huh.
I've seen one of the coolest paintings, has nothing to do with NFTs, but is they did multi-layer canvas and they do paintings and then they start slicing the canvas and like peeling
Uh-huh.
backs.
Those
Like
are fun.
there's some all sorts of interesting things, and this is what artists do, right? You get a medium and you
Explore.
explore that medium.
Yeah.
What are you exploring with the RetroCat NFT? Like what are some of the differences here? We've got a bunch of rare traits. We've got the retro theme. This is how Chainlink plays in as well, I believe,
Yes.
is somehow with the traits. But talk a
Yes.
little bit about that process.
Okay, so there's several different things that we're doing a little bit different. Well, one thing is because for me, it's a different artist community that I haven't already built up. So for me, or it's being created from scratch, and so I am giving a lot back with art, and so one thing that we're doing actually right now is there's a whole different separate collection that I've done just based called Retro Rockers that are just individual items, and I'm creating individual NFTs that I'm giving away. Um, so that's one thing that's happening right now. But we're trying to give back as much as we can, and so because I'm an artist, I have it priced basically in accordance to what I would actually charge for just a small little painting. So I'm trying to keep it affordable. Because everything's getting astronomically expensive on the blockchain, especially with gas prices going up. I'm trying to also use Chainlink functions like VRF to make sure that it's verifiably random. I want to make sure that nobody can go in and hack the code and create their ultimate super rare cat. So you can't do that. The other thing that we're using, the other Chainlink technology that we're using is the keepers, um, which I'm sure you are very familiar with more than I am of all the technology behind keepers. But we're using that for an uncorruptible, truly decentralized raffle or lottery system, so that once we reach a certain threshold of sales, we're hoping to give back a majority of what we've actually received for RetroCat NFTs, whether it be to different cat organizations.
Mhm.
Specifically, there's one that I love that works with tiny cats and small cats around the world, wild cats, not just your big famous like tigers and stuff, but the smaller ones that, and working
Mhm.
with the local communities. We're giving back that way. And also, we'd like to give back as well to the different people who hold retro cats.
Cool. Let me talk about keepers for a sec because your use case is really interesting. So keepers, what they do is they automate smart contracts. They're not automated normally. They need people or systems pushing the button to make them execute and work. And so what keepers do is they'll take some input and track that input and check, is the smart contract ready for an input, and the input at a certain threshold. And when it is, then they will execute a smart contract. And so yours is interesting. When the sales reach a certain number, when there's enough ETH that comes in, keepers track that. And when that has reached, filled up whatever the marker is, then ping, it executes a smart contract
Yeah.
to do these donations and various other things. So really nice, interesting use case for keepers there. They can be used for a ton of different things. Plenty of information on that as well. Now, there is a question in here. I'm going to give Helen a little shout out. I'm going to give you
Hi,
direct advice.
Helen.
I'm not going to ask Steph for secrets, but how do you find developers? For those of you who are artists and looking in the space right now, there is a Chainlink hackathon that is happening. You can go and just find a hack.chain.link, and there are a ton of developers who are learning how to develop with Chainlink, who are already developing with Solidity. And yesterday we did this session, this live AMA with the DevRel guys, and there were a bunch of people in the chat saying, I can't think of any ideas. I don't have any ideas. What am I going to make? Now I'm in here with a whole bunch of artists, and people are in the chat like, how do I find a developer? I have so many ideas. I don't know how to do it. We need to make this match happen.
I know. This is something I've been passionate about for a long time, because there's so many artists out there that are incredibly talented, who are just, maybe they're from a poor country in the world, or they don't have the ability to get their art into these, top spaces or galleries. Like, how do we connect these people? Like, this is something I want to work towards as well. Yes,
So for
absolutely.
right now, Helen, Chainlink Hackathon.
Yes.
Google it. It'll come up. Roman, put the link to the Chainlink Hackathon in the chat. Help me out. And then the Discord. There's a Chainlink Discord. You can join there, and there's a bunch of channels. Once you kind of familiarize yourself with Discord, if you're not familiar with it, it's a chat application. You can join the Chainlink community, the developer community, introduce yourself in the hackathon, say, I am an artist and I have ideas for projects, but I'm looking for developers. You might not meet one this time around. Maybe you will. But that's how to start building those relationships and getting involved. And that's how it happened for me too. Is I start working in the space, start interacting with a lot of projects, and have those conversations, engage, and you meet developers.
That's
That's
awesome.
just how it goes. You meet them, startup conversation, chit chat.
Great advice. Great advice.
So Tech, let me clarify your question about is an NFT on Chainlink. NFTs aren't on Chainlink. NFTs are on blockchains. Chainlink is not a blockchain. Chainlink is middleware that talks to blockchains from off-chain things or vice versa. So yeah, you're welcome, Helen. So an NFT can sit on a blockchain such as Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, any of those blockchains, NFTs, a particular kind of blockchain, but most of the ones that you'd be familiar with can sit on. So Chainlink helps do things with those NFT projects with other smart contracts as well. Great question. Hope that clarified as well.
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
we've got people who are new to NFTs in the chat.
Absolutely.
My next question for you is like, what do you think you encounter other artists and people who are coming in who are relatively new to NFTs? I just talked to my brother. My brother's like, I just found a guy, but he's not. He's a cool artist. He's a pixel artist, and but he's not on into NFTs. How do we explain this to him? What do you think people are coming in? What do you think they need to understand? What do you think that killer use case is to really push them to understand enough to get going on this sort of technology?
Well, I think especially when talking to artists, believe me, this question is one I'm getting a lot because in my immediate community, like people, they're not interested necessarily in blockchain or they're hearing about it for the first time. So I try to first off explain what an NFT is, as you were saying earlier and talking about it. It is a it sits on the blockchain. It is this and talk about I also especially when I'm talking to artists, I talk about rights and ownership, because as an artist, it's very easy to get your stuff copied by other people, or you sell a piece of artwork and you lose all rights to that. You have no They could sell it for $1 million and you make nothing from those sales. And so when I talk to different artists, I explain the different elements of, listen, it's in my case, it's a piece of artwork that people can buy online. It's also, a ticket to whatever raffles or we do within our NFT. But
Mhm.
it's a ticket, but it's also a piece of artwork, and they can own that artwork and they can use that artwork if they want to use that uh, as part of their emblem for their future company. They own the rights to that. It becomes theirs. And also, there's a lot I talk about utilities and how there's so many different great utilities that are coming out. And I also, for artists, I mentioned, listen, you can put a commission rate on that for future sales so that you can make money off of this, not only with the initial sale but also into the future as people sell and as your art grows in value. You can also retain some small rights to that as well. And so that's something that doesn't actually exist necessarily in the physical art world.
Mhm.
So I think that's one really cool thing that blockchain technology and NFTs have.
I heard a podcast recently. I think it was Chris Dixon from A16Z talking about uh when the telephone was invented and they first tried to sell the
Yes.
telephone
Yes.
and Western Union passed. They were like, "No, we don't need a What is this?" Because the technology, it only made short term or short distance telephone calls. It was only so long. It wasn't a
Mhm.
coast to coast or anything like that. So well, we don't need that, and when we're going to pass on it. Thanks. They could have bought the technology. They could have, had the patent for centuries of one of the most revolutionary, innovations in the history of innovations, like the telephone, this whole thing. And um, while buying a particular NFT is not owning a patent to
Yeah.
the telephone innovation, understanding the space and being part of
Mhm.
a technology when we're still figuring out what the use cases all are and what those drivers are really going to be, when there's still value and an amazing amount of passion behind communities and technologies and people trying and experimenting. That to me, that's one of the most exciting thing about NFTs and Web3 in general is we don't necessarily know
Exactly.
what that core value is going to look like and how that's going to catch on fire. But the core value of decentralization and security through decentralization and the marriage between these, off-chain and on-chain things is really something to get it started with, like just to know about.
Well, and you don't know how it's going to develop. None of us do. These are just like the initial building blocks, the initial like little trials, if you will. And so yeah, I actually funny enough, I actually use the analogy of a phone or it's this new technology. We don't know what it is, but if you pass on it now, are you going to regret it in the future? So,
So many parallels there. I'm a former media scholar, and so I used to collect. I collect old media artifacts. I actually have some cool ones behind me right here. You can't see it from my mic. That's a magic lantern. It's like a slide projector by Candlelight. Anyways, got a bunch
Oh,
of this cool
cool.
stuff. Oh, they're so cool. But there is a long history of when there's a new innovation, especially information-based innovation, of reactance against it, misunderstanding, people trying to figure out what's the use case going to be, how are we going to deal with this. Electric wires in cities are another great example. They're like, I swear it was a total disaster for a long time, but the innovation was so clear. Like once people got electricity, it's like, we'll do anything to figure this out and build the infrastructure, even though it took a long time to get it settled.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting off. I'm getting off on tangents from my own days. We've been doing this for a while, so let's talk a little bit more about RetroCats. What's coming up next in the horizon, the next couple of weeks, months? What do you foresee for this project going forward for the long term?
Well, so we're continuing to work towards and figure out what the direction is going. We're trying to reach the threshold so that we can open up our raffle, our lottery system. Like that's a big goal of mine. But in the meantime, we are doing the Retro Rockers giveaway, as I said. So we're giving away. We're giving away 30 different NFTs for over the extended period of time. I'm also trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I have some really fun ideas for the holidays with art. I kind of want to do a. Okay, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to be creating like a Charlie Brown-esque Thanksgiving little NFT to give out to people who hold uh, RetroCat. So I'm just trying to make it a really cool way. I'd like to make you know like little things that you can add to your cat and maybe like create little costumes or whatever. I'm trying to sort all of that out and what that is going to look like. But that's kind of where we're at. I'm still relatively new to the NFT space. This is my very first NFT. I'm actually kind of new to digital art, if I gotta be honest. I got my first like this is my first real journey into digital art and Procreate. So I'm really happy with how it's turned out so far, and we're building up a really wonderful community. A lot of people who are really new to the NFT space. And just, people are really kind and wonderful. And I'm just hoping to cultivate that and, go into the future. See what it has to offer. Connect with people from Chainlink Hackathon, some more developers and see what we can do and where we can take this.
Fantastic. Now, some of the messages in there, I want to make sure and pull out. If you are new here, you are not alone. Like there are
Yeah,
so many new people are
absolutely.
coming, and everybody was new at once. If we only hire people who know what crypto is, we're doomed because there's not that many people. There's plenty of room for more, and there's new people in, and we try to make it welcoming. If you end up in a community where it's not welcoming, bail. Find a welcoming one. You can come to the RetroCats Discord, I'm sure, Chainlink Discord as well. And something interesting, as you look at what you're going to do next with holidays and all this sort of things, you have this community. There's
Uh-huh.
people who have said, okay, they've committed. Here's a commitment. I hold this NFT. This is a relationship with an artist in particular and a fun community. And that's how these things are emerging as well. So that's really fun to see. Where are some of those places where your community lives, where people can find out more?
Okay, so, well, what I would say the best way to find us is to actually go to our website, retrocat.io. And from there at the top, you can see there is a button. Let me actually share my screen so you
Yeah,
can
sure.
see. Okay, one moment. I'm just going to show this again. So if you go to our website, retrocat.io, at the top, there is a link to a clickable button to our Discord. There's also one to Etherscan if you want to mint that way, to our OpenSea, to our Twitter. And there's also a mint button there on the page. But so we're only on Discord and Twitter. I will say we are a very we're a small, intimate family group. Um,
Hey,
and
Discord and
so
Twitter is all you need these days.
exactly. And so it's, we're building that community there. And like I said, very positive community. Very happy.
Lucky
Little
cat.
nice to be a little lucky cat. Positive
We
Kiwi.
covered lucky cats. We covered art and self therapy. We covered time crystals, magic lanterns. We like this is amazing, and cat love, of course.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we'll get our little kitty ears going on. My cats don't come in my office. They they don't like
Well,
that, even though they do
usually
like me.
they run away as soon as I start streaming. Like, so
Yeah.
for that whole appearance was just special.
It was magic. It was a very lucky cat. Thank you, Steph, for coming on. It's been awesome getting to know you. Let's catch up again later
Yes,
on. We'll keep talking and make sure that you're part of what we do and we keep track of what you do. That sound good?
absolutely. Please do.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to chat with these cool cats. Now I can say cats. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the discussion. I really appreciate when people come in and just experience something new and think about these things together. Join the communities. Join the RetroCat communities, Discord and Twitter. You can follow them there. We very much appreciate Steph coming on. While you're joining communities, of course, join the Chainlink community, the Discord. If you want to get involved in the hackathon, you can do those. You can still register. You can still sign up for the hackathon, participate, and work on submitting a project. And if you're in the hackathon already and your team's falling apart, you can get a new cat and do something NFTs with these people. Or if you got a great idea, keep on plugging with it. I appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel because we do these a couple of times a week. We're doing another one on Friday. It's like a mint day on Friday for toddler pillars. And then we're going to come and do a live stream as their mint is going on. So come back for that. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And then we also talk to DeFi projects and blockchains and data providers. There's also tons of developer resources that come up on the YouTube and Sergey talks, of course. Anything that Sergey does, we'll end up putting on here as well. So this is a good place to live and subscribe and hang out with me once in a while. Thank you all so much. And hey, thanks, Roman, for dropping links in there for me and hanging out. Appreciate everybody being here. We will see you next time on Chainlink Live. Peace.